Okay. So I want everyone to make sure you have a piece of paper and a marker or a pen or whichever you can get. There are some areas of self-care that we want to consider today. And the first one is emotional. We all have an emotional part of our being that we have to take care of. And that's the part that needs to remain calm and not excited in the process of caregiving, but to be able, and so listening to music, laughing, affirmations, self-awareness, self-management, your relationship with others and having empathy, all of that is in your emotional um, part of you, and you have to take care of that. Then there's the physical. You have to, this journey of caregiving can take many years, and so certainly it can
Mhm.
take a toll on your physical being, on your body. And so you must take care of your body by exercising, doing deep breathing, um, getting more sleep. It's important to sleep. If you're not sleeping, then your brain doesn't actually get to refurbish itself, so to speak, and to be able to continue your journey. You may have, and then sometimes you really have to relax. If you have slept for a couple hours and you woke up and you felt like you never slept, that's not a good thing. You really have to consider how you're sleeping, and that the room isn't clustered, and that it's just this peaceful time where you rest and rejuvenate yourself for the next day. So to sleep well, it matters what you're eating and whether or not you're exercising. So there is a connection between all of these things that we're talking about. Your psychological being um, can be, you can take care of that by painting, by writing in your journal. You can write, if your day was stressful and you write that in your journal, that certainly is a way of kind of releasing that and moving forward. um, Kind of allowing you to be resilient and to, if you had a stressful day that or a stressful morning and you write about it and that's released, now you can handle the afternoon. Then of course, as a faith-based group, part of what you, those of you who are spiritual, um, there's the idea of spirituality for all of us. And do you need to forgive?
Mhm.
Forgiveness is an important part of your spiritual being. Forgiving others, maybe you're caring for somebody who did something in the past and now you're caring for them, but you can't carry that with you on your journey. You're going to have to forgive. And now that there's a diagnosis, they certainly may not even remember it, but if you were still carrying it, that's a problem. And so while the person that you're caring for is changing, so you will change also. And so forgiveness and self-forgiveness, if you feel like there were some things that you didn't do. So releasing that person as well as releasing yourself from anything of the past and dealing with today. Meditation, meditating on the scriptures that will support you and that will encourage you. That is help, or maybe singing whatever song that you would like to sing to encourage yourself, or listen to the kind of music that you listen to uplift your spirits. And then there's personal. You have to have some sort of goal and plan for yourself. Again, back to self-care. Today I will, this morning I will, this afternoon I will, for the next 2 weeks I will. So you're taking care of yourself. So you're looking at emotional, physical, psychological, spiritual, and personal. Who is responsible for your self-care?
Mhm.
Who is responsible for your self-care? So this is, you are responsible for
Mhm.
your own self-care. All right. It's okay to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Sometimes so many people feel guilty. Well, I took some time away, and but what's going on with them? It's kind of like a parent. You drop your child off to school. Well, let's think pre-COVID. Drop the child off to school, and then you're wondering, oh, how are they doing? They were crying when I left, and you have to release yourself and go to work, and you're fine. The child will be fine with the teacher and assistance as needed. But taking some time away, and how you do that now in the time of COVID, because COVID has brought on some additional stress. Um, this is a life and death issue now. And so who you allow in your home, where have they been? All of these things can add to your stress, but you have to, in your family bubble, and you know that there's safety within that, then you have to make sure that you take a break. One of the difficult things that I get to say to people, not because I just want to be mean, but I have to sometimes say, if you don't take care of yourself and your loved one and you get sick and now you're hospitalized, who will take care of your loved one? So you must take this seriously, and you must think about potentially a plan if something happens to you. Not every caregiver makes the journey, I'm sure you heard from Hamilton's story. So it's important to make some decisions and plans about that. And self-care is not selfish. You're not being selfish at all. We know that when we've been flying, that the flight attendants, and when they do their presentations, and sometimes we don't kind of pay attention, but they're always saying, this is what you need to do, and put on your safety mask first and then help somebody else. And so when you've flown a lot and you've heard that a lot, sometimes you take that for granted, but let that lesson translate into caregiving, that you take care of yourself. And you take care of yourself so that you can continue to provide the best care possible, because you want to take care of your loved one when you're feeling good, so that if you have the wrong attitude and you're caregiving for somebody, they may react from your attitude. So you want to have a pleasant demeanor, a smile on your face. When somebody's taking care of you and they have a smile on their face, and you sense that there's love and care in the care that they're receiving, things work well on both sides. So self-care must be deliberate and is for your personal refueling so that you can continue the work. Self-care is really, really important to help you to cope and to maintain the balance in your own life. If you focus everything on this person and your life falls apart, you're not going to be happy, and things can be just frustrating. And certainly when things are frustrating, your physical being will feel that. Your physical being, this is a whole bunch of stress, and potentially blood pressure issues may occur. You don't want to give yourself a stroke. So, I mean, you have to there's so many things to consider here, because again, you're helping to make sure that your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, these parts of you are all balanced, so that you're not focusing on just one, but always all parts of these. We know that the role of a caregiver or someone giving care to a loved one can be overwhelming. And for many of you who've heard of the 36-hour day, the book called The 36-Hour Day, we know that they're only 24 hours. But when your day feels like 36 hours, that's just a lot for one person to handle. So that's why we're saying all these things for you today. So if you don't take care of yourself, more than likely you will become burnt out, become physically sick. You can become impaired at your own ability to make decisions on behalf of this person and yourself. And so not taking care of yourself affects you negatively, which in turn affects the kind of care that you give. Are there any questions and comments? All right. So thinking about what you eat to help you maintain a level of sanity, so to speak, and care for yourself. So you have to be mindful about the foods that you eat. There are some foods that give you energy, right? There's some foods that when you eat them, you think, oh my goodness, I need to take a nap. So, which ones do you need to do on your journey of caregiving? You need foods that will give you energy. And so, it's important to eat lots of fruits, lots of berries, and seasonal fruits. Right now, it's really important that you keep your immune system maintained. And so, vitamin C and vitamin D, if you don't get out in the sun, maybe getting some vitamin D tablets would be important, but fruits are really, really important to have. Fruits and vegetables, all the berries you want. Anything that's a berry is good for your energy and your strength and even your health, the health of your brain. Lots of green leafy vegetables that you can kind of boil, steam, stir fry, whatever you like. That will give you the energy and sustenance that your body requires for this journey. So eating is really, really important, and drinking water, staying hydrated. Staying hydrated is really, really important. And of course, because of COVID-19, and most of you may have gotten the vaccine, I'm not sure, or in the process of getting it, it's important to have a thermometer to check temperatures and see what's going on. We have to be vigilant in this area. I was reading yesterday that even though in the next 2 years, COVID-19 may have lessened, will be less, it may not go away forever. And so this is something that we have to be careful about. All right, so what would be some coping strategies that you should consider? Managing your time. So if you don't manage your time well, that's another area that could frustrate you, because you will think and assume that, okay, I think I can get all this done, but then something changes in that morning. Your loved one does not want to get out of bed. They don't want to have a bath. They don't want to take medications, and certainly don't want to get dressed. All of that changes everything. So what do you do? So you have to be flexible and understand that there are times where whatever you plan may not work. So you should always have a plan B and potentially a plan C. So A, B, and C. And so understanding that you don't go into your day thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and you expect to actually do it. Because if it doesn't happen, then you'll be frustrated. So every day will be new for the person that you're caring for and potentially new to you. But you should still have somewhat of a schedule so that you know within a particular time they get up, and then they have breakfast, and then you're ready for the day. And to make sure that they are stimulated in doing an activity and things like that. And so that by having a schedule,
That's
it'll
what the coping time
a couple breaks
stimulating then.
in between your day. It allows you some breaks in between your day to kind of take a rest and to maybe read while they're doing something else, do something while they're doing something else. So it's important to make an effort to relax, to laugh more and not get frustrated. Sometimes the person that you're caring for may do something because of the dementia or Alzheimer's that could be frustrating, but it's just laugh. I mean, it just can be overwhelming if you take everything so serious from the time they get up until the time they go to bed. And there are times where you really just need to laugh. Or maybe they're trying to be helpful when you're cleaning up and they place a pair of shoes in a very strange place. And so what do? Do you either get frustrated that the shoes don't go there, or you just smile and go with it? So these are some things as you're becoming used to the change of the person that you're caring for, that does, so that it doesn't overwhelm you and your ability to um, take care of yourself. And part of coping strategies would be to laugh more, to exercise more, to eat nourishing foods. One of the things in the last maybe year or so that has been on the internet is celery. So a lot of people have just been eating celery or juicing celery, and many people have been saying it gives them so much energy, it makes them feel good. So I've tried it. I felt pretty good, but I don't know if that was one way or the other. So you might glass of juiced celery, or just chew on the celery stalks, and try that. It's a healthy way of living too, so it doesn't do any damage. I don't believe. It's just something that has many people have said has been giving them a lot of energy, and it makes them feel good. So that's part of the feel good foods that you can try. The majority of caregivers, especially in African American families, are in African American families, yes, are family members. And sometimes our family dynamics can cause a little bit of stress to us. And, we don't get to choose our family. So we have to accept who we have, and we have to work within that. So that families, sometimes, if even if there are many siblings but you're the only one, maybe you just report to them what's going on. Sometimes you may want to let them know if there's a need. One of the things that Sharon and Jeannie, I believe, had a long time ago was the idea of writing out some of the things that you may need assistance with and putting it in a jar. That way, if by chance a family member says, after years and years of caregiving, there's somebody who finally says, how can I help you? And then you don't have to think about it. You can literally go to this place where you have a list of things and say to them, here's where I need the help. And then happy that they are now coming aboard. It doesn't matter when they come aboard, but now that they have joined you in the caregiving role, that here is some help for you. Then one of the things that would be important is that you must be ready to accept the help. Sometimes caregivers do not ask for help, but sometimes many don't receive or accept the help. Because for those of you who have said, oh, I can do this by myself, no, you really can't. Anybody who is in this challenge, in this role, needs to know that it's a journey that shouldn't be done by yourself, and that there is help. This support group is helping many, but beyond the support group, there are other resources that can be helpful to families. And so it's important to understand that as a caregiver, you need to receive help. One of the things I also want to mention is the wear and tear on your physical being, depending on where the person is in the stages of the disease. Sometimes moving them, helping them to get from one space to another, lifting and moving. If you're not properly trained and prepared for that, that can take a toll on you too. So it's important to know that you need help. It's important to understand that the journey can also sometimes bring about depression for caregivers. Depression comes about at the loss sometimes of seeing this person decline for the many years that you've been the caregiver, but also your life. There's some things that are changing, and the loss of friends, and maybe you had to take some time off from work, and your salary certainly has gone down, and all these different losses that occur can sometimes bring about depression. And so when you recognize that you're in a space that's not so good, that you need to reach out for help, speak with a physician, and also know that the person that you're caring for, depending again on what stage they're in, may also go through a time of depression. Fully accepting that they're no longer able to make decisions for themselves, they're no longer able to do all the things that they used to do. And so these are very devastating times sometimes for both the caregiver and the person that they're caring for. But depression is something that can be taken care of. So it's important to speak to your physician or to the physician of the person for whom you're caring for. Any comments or questions right now?
Hi, Petra. This is Brenda Anderson. I just tuned in, and everything you just said are all the things that I'm going through right now. And so, and like you said, last week and week before last, when I reached out to you, reached out to Dr. Carol, reached out to family members to finally say I needed help, I have to say you guys really stepped up and it helped me. It really helped me a lot. She's back walking again, being more independent and stuff. But all the advice you all gave me last week, I took it to heart and I implemented it. And you are so right. I had thrown my back out. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling hopeless, that I was burdening all, carrying the major load. And I just started reaching out and everybody rose to the occasion. So you're so right. We just got to get comfortable with asking for help and not being embarrassed or feeling bad about it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Brenda. Anybody else?
Hi, Petra. This is Wendy. Thank you so much just for your presence being here. And once again, I'm going to throw my cousin Sharon under the bus because she should have been on this call when you were giving out your self-care instructions. So if you can just go down the line with the different items, not so much going into them. She's going to kill me, but that's okay. Starting from, because she really, really needs it. I mean, I know my aunt because I know my mother, and she's just really stressed out. And and when I say the line, you gave us items that we should start with about the emotional, physical, spiritual, and not saying that you should go over it, but just give her that list so she can write it down, and then she and I can have a conversation.
Yes, I'll repeat it. This is a day
Thank
of
you so
repeating.
much.
And I also really said that she is recording it, so that way maybe it can be shared. Thank you, Wendy. Anybody else? So what Brenda was saying is that she finally had come to a point or a place where she needed to get help. And we don't want you to necessarily wait until you get to that point, because that at that point there is a potentially chronic stress and maybe the lack of sleep, a negative mood, which can also may also affect your heart. So the heart and your brain works together, and stress does affect both of them. So it's important for caregivers to understand that sometimes you put yourself at risk for cardiovascular issues. We don't want caregivers to have a heart attack. We want caregivers to go through their journey. All of you must know that this is a journey that you cannot handle by yourself. You need family, you need outside help, such as our organization, Alzheimer's Los Angeles. You have Sharon and Jeannie. Sharon and Jeannie spoke, well, when I came on, I forgot the lady's name, but we know that she's available to speak to those of you who are married. And so looking out for all of you. And now that we have a support group for men who are caregivers, and if you know any men who are going through this journey, to please refer them to Jim or just to Sharon, and Sharon will get that information to them. But we want you all to know that it's important that you have to consider all of these things as you're taking on this new role. And how did you get to be a caregiver? all of you got to be that in different ways. Some of you were the spouse, some of you the adult child, some of you the only child, some of you family member who lives the closest, some of you not necessarily that you live the closest, but sometimes you are the female of the siblings, of the children. And that role comes to you, and the brothers help, but mostly you help because you have this innate ability to be a caregiver. So however you came to your role, you're in this role now, and it's very, very challenging. And we want you to understand that you can't do it by yourself. You must get some help. You really have to reach out. And when people say, can I help you? Say yes,
Yes, so we help them do it.
because they may not ask again. So the time that they say, can I help you? Please say yes. And sometimes it may not be what you think they should be asking. But there's so many things that you do. So if someone says, I'm going to the store, and what do you need? Tell me 5 things that you need and make sure you have them. They drop them off. Well, you may be thinking, well, I wish I could go to the store, but so you have to think in a certain way, accept the help, and maybe at some other point you can go, but try to do that. Right? It's really important to do that and to release and let go of any old business within families, any old business within friendships, any old business within the person that you're caring for, so that you are free to care and to do the duties of the day. Now, I mentioned COVID-19. COVID-19, as we're all living through this, and we actually don't take it lightly that we're all alive and here today. But it has brought about some things, as I mentioned before. And one of the things now is isolation. Many caregivers have become even more isolated with the person that they're caring for. And so it's important for you now to become more familiar with some trusted news sources, because technology is all that we sometimes have right now. And so there are a number of agencies and programs virtually that will give you some help. And so some of the resources, I will also make sure that Sharon and Kimberly gets this if you're not aware, but the USC Family Caregiver Resource Center, offering courses and information for caregivers. There's also another source, the Family Caregiver Alliance. Family Caregiver Alliance. And I think they're based in San Francisco, but they have resources so that even though you are isolated, there may be something virtually that assists you, the caregiver. And so I've been working at home since March and not getting out much. And so it's important for me. I talk about exercise. So how do you do that when you can't go outside? If there's a yard, you can go out in your yard. But if you don't have a yard, there's some things that you can look up online. YouTube has some amazing programs for exercise. And so during the week, I use YouTube Walk at Home. And you can walk a mile, you can walk 2 miles, all of this by not leaving your home. So there are a lot of things available for you. Reach out to people who you like and who you care about and who you know care about you. People are kind and gracious, and we've all become sensitive at this time to the needs of other people. So reach out to people. Just call them to say hello, and you're calling them. You may be encouraged by what they have to say to you. Also make an effort to do the things you like as much as possible. So if you are creating a schedule of your day, like the night before, always include something that you like for the next day so that you're including yourself in the daily activities of caring for your loved one. We want to be sure that you are also taking care of yourself. And these are some things that bring you joy, that make you smile, that lift your spirits. You know, is there a show that makes you laugh? Maybe an old movie or an old show that you could watch, even with your loved one, and both of you can laugh together. But think about it that way. But also learn to appreciate the space for quietness. It's one of the things that we haven't always done, to appreciate this time that's so precious with your loved one. And if you want to, if you have a smartphone, you could record conversations and share it with family, and you will have that, you know, for the rest of your time with the phone. You can record sing-alongs. You could use that time to also, again, meditate and be quiet with yourself. Think about some things that are going on, just quiet, that are wonderful. The pandemic has brought about so much loss and devastation, but it has also brought about a time of rethinking our lives and what's going on and what we could create in this space, in this time, and that we've never done before. Because all things are now new, right? We're not really going back to business as usual. I don't think we can do that. And so what can you do now moving forward? Do you want to create a journal which starts and you'll have your story? Do you want to start writing poetry and you've never had the time to do it? So think about this time and space that you have to create something for yourself, and a legacy that you could have for other family members to share for the person that you're caring for. Any comments? All right, so I want to ask you, after all that I've said, what would be some barriers to actually doing this self-care that we talked about? Because there are always barriers to things, but we could remove those barriers. We want to leave here with the ability to continue your caregiving experience in a new way, having new skills and strategies, knowing that you must take care of yourself, that you must eat a healthy diet, you must have a good night's sleep, you have to take care of your spiritual being, your psychological being, your emotional being, and make sure that what you're doing helps you along this journey. So some of the barriers that I think that could prevent your ability to focus on self-care is the ability to say no. There are times when you will have to learn to say no, because it will help you in the long run. Sometimes it's because you feel guilty, that's your barrier to self-care. You're feeling guilty that you will take some time to go out and do something on your own, or you're going to, go for a physical distance, go down the street to see a neighbor or something like that. But no, this is intentional. As I said at the beginning, self-care must be intentional. So it's a must. In other words, no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to do it. It's part of the journey of caring for your loved one. Sometimes there's negative self-talk, saying negative things about what you are doing and how you're doing it. Sometimes there's fear, or sometimes there's just the feeling of inadequacy. I don't think I could do this. I'm not sure if I could do this. But just taking on this role is so much, and you've done it for this far. So any barriers that you have written down. So if you think about yourself and how you're doing what you're doing, what barriers do you have? Does anybody want to share, if you don't mind?
Hi, Petra, it's Sandy.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you, and thank you. This is awesome. This is taking me back to when I was in my early 20s, and my father had brain cancer and actually exhibited many of the, it was a long, long journey, and I didn't want him to be that way. So I had a lot of, there was fear and, but there was also resentment. And I think resentment that somebody is in that situation, you can't fix it, but it's not a good feeling. So I think being able to address resentment and what we can do to let go of that. And there are things to do, and getting yourself into a loving space and a loving head is one of them. But you can't always be there. And I think, acknowledging that you're angry or resentful, or sometimes I'd take him out in public and he would do something really embarrassing. And those are real feelings that people have to kind of acknowledge and work through.
Yes.
Hear what you have to say about
Thank
that.
you for sharing that, Sandy. Yes, acknowledging where you are in your journey. And again, I was teaching the Savvy Caregiver course, and this lady walked in the class. And when I asked the question, how did you get here? How did you become the caregiver? She just started blurting out some things. And I realized, oh, she, as a child, had some issues with her mother and never lived with her mother, ended up living with the grandmother. And now, as the only child, her mother has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and she has been asked to be the caregiver. This resentment, anger, frustration, all of these things that she had, these highly emotional, and I was teaching this, not the 3-week course, this was the 6-week course. So I thought, okay, I'm not sure she's going to go through all of this because we're going to talk about this. So at the end of the 6-week course, she still was angry, frustrated, full of resentment and all these things. And I thought, I just hope, I don't know if I'll ever see this person again. I just hope that the lessons of the course and the strategies of caregiving, that she uses them to properly care for her mom, because this attitude can obviously affect the person that she's caring for. And so months after, I was presenting somewhere in the South Bay, and I heard my name. Somebody yelled my name, and I looked around, and it was her. And she came running over to me and said, "Thank you for the course. I was so angry and I was frustrated and I was all these things that she mentioned, that I mentioned." And she said, "But at some point it changed. And I appreciated my mother. And I realized that she's not in a space to talk to her about it." And so while her mother was changing, she also changed and released a lot of the issues that she had, and found that at the last few months of her mom's life, she was able to give care much better than even the previous years, because she had now released some of the issues and appreciated her mother, because it was through her mother that she was actually alive and brought, so things happen, and we hope that there is some resolution to it, closure to certain things. And so she was able to have that. So thank you for sharing. Anybody else would like to
Teacher,
share?
this is Susan. Hi, great information. And I think what I was going to say just kind of capsulize what you're saying. Basically, a mindset can be a barrier. We don't have that right mindset.
Yeah.
We can't move forward properly or effectively in the way we need to when caring for our loved ones.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, but the other thing is, though, to acknowledge, to be, I think, validated that I was so young. I had no idea about the world. Today, I'm so much older and
Yes,
work through a lot of that. But I think that there are a lot of young people who are impacted, or to know that that feeling is a fleeting feeling. It's not going to be with you forever. It's
right.
okay that you actually had that feeling. Now try to change your mindset. I love that concept.
Yes.
So thank you. I just,
Yes, thank you both. Yes, the mindset that is really, really important, um, because you can wake up with a mindset, this is going to be a good day no matter what. Please know that there will be some issues throughout the day, but if you wake up feeling no matter what occurs today, I will make it through the day and I will keep a smile on my face. I will jot things down or journal if something comes up that's negative, and then I will move forward. I will not hold on to it. And those kinds of even affirmations and things like that are really critical to maintaining self-care. So thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Petra. It's Claudine.
Hi, Claudine.
You talked about being able to say no. Well, I was one of those that ended up in the hospital, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks in the midst of caring for my husband.
Oh.
I was blessed that our daughter lived with us with her 2 children. So she just kind of stepped in and just kind of took over.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I was tired, very, very tired, and they talked about bringing my husband to the hospital to see me. I said, no, please don't right now. I am tired. I do not, just looking at him would stress me. And so I said, not right now. Give me, some time and space. And they did. And a few days went by because I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and they brought him in and it was okay. But one of the things that she shared with me was that, Mom, this is my dad. I can't help him take a shower. So what she did was she allowed, because they were still on good terms, she allowed her ex-husband to move into the house, and he was the one that helped with her dad getting dressed and taking a shower and all of that. So it seemed like every time I would be so tired and I would pray, oh Lord, I need a day off. A couple of those times I ended up in the hospital. So I started saying, Lord, okay, please, can I just have a time just to go, and not be in the hospital? Anyway, I did arrange a time to just go away and be in a hotel for at least one night. And I paid my daughter, and then I wasn't ready to come home the next day. And I needed some more time. So I contacted the caregiving group and I asked if somebody could come, and they arranged somebody to come so that I could stay as long as I needed to stay. And I think I stayed a second night. And then I went home and I felt better. But I needed to do that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Claudine. What I said to Brenda just now is what we don't want to do is to wait until you are overloaded and at the point of physical exhaustion to be able to reach out or consider that you deserve a break. So again, I will say this is an intentional effort that you must perform self-care for yourself. And don't wait to be overloaded. You have to identify some things that you can or cannot change about this situation right now. There are some things you can't change. And even with time, sometimes that takes time to accept the diagnosis. It takes time to accept it's a progressive disease. It takes time. But realize that there are some things you will be able to accept, that you have to identify that you cannot change certain things, and take certain actions to help yourself. So every day, and maybe you, if you have a calendar that you use for your loved one when there are doctor's appointments or they should do this or that, please make sure that you include yourself as it relates to exercise, walking, gardening, meditation. There's so many coffees. If you're a coffee drinker, maybe you can try different ones. What about
You know,
teas?
you know,
They're
Petra,
wonderful- yes, they're wonderful calming
uh,
teas, such as chamomile. Yes, Claudine, go ahead.
you know, I didn't realize the extent of the effect that it had on me.
Mhm.
Our oldest daughter, even though I said the reason why I'm in the hospital has to do with some type of thing of genetics in our family, and I ended up having a surgery, but she continued to talk and say and ask questions of the doctors, could this have been brought on by stress? And of course, they agreed. So I had to, at some point, listen to somebody else outside myself that was recognizing the situation and was close to the situation. And well, maybe I had to think about that. And I think once I accepted that, that's what kind of propelled me to be more intentional, as you said, earlier.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Petra, when you were talking about accepting, the thought that came to my mind and dealing with my own journey with my auntie, which was about 5 years ago, that one of the barriers that I was dealing with was initially not accepting the reality of the situation,
Mhm.
not accepting that, hey, this is my journey now. My life have changed.
Yes.
It won't ever be the same as long as I'm her caregiver. So once the Lord helped me to realize that, hey, this is her destined journey right now. This is my assignment. And when I realized that, I was more able to deal with it, to cope with it.
Yeah.
But just not accepting the reality of the situation can really hinder you from doing your best job for that loved one.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. Anybody else? One of the things that Claudine said that's so powerful is that the caregiver does not always recognize that they're at a heightened level of stress and that they are at the breaking point,
Mhm.
which is really, really critical. It's sometimes uh, identified when you go to the doctor's office and they recognize that, oh my goodness, the person with my patient is very stressed. Let's talk and let's talk to this person. Or if you are speaking to a social worker and another organization or something like that. So it's really, really important to take care of yourself. So here's some things. You got yourself a sheet of paper. There are some things that I'm going to ask you. Write down the ways and areas that you need help in. I mentioned that earlier, and that was a tool that Sharon had. But write down the areas that you need assistance with right now as a caregiver. Write it down so it's clear to you. And we want you to know, you list them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever. Make sure that you're not picky where your help comes from. You may not always know where your help is going to come from. Help can come from various sources, and it may not be the ones that you're thinking about. So make sure that you're fine with that. It can come from family, neighbors, it can come from church membership, professionals, but make sure that you are ready to receive the help.
Ms.
All
Peter,
right. And that,
oh, I had a question.
yes, Malika?
Yes, I have a comment. I think that is very vital. For me, I think because I have this superwoman mentality. I think I was trying to do it all at the beginning and not realizing that I really couldn't. So it did impact my mental, my physical, everything, because I was so out of balance. But I think when people see that you need the help, I love the fact that people do that. But I also had to realize that I did have to ask. Like, it was a time where, I'm working from home now, but when I was on site, I had to take my mom to various doctor's appointments. And, you know, it's not very many people in my family who were able to do that. So I did reach out to church members, and I praise God that they're there. But I do think it's very important that you lower your pride and ask. Even if it's something that's simple, and I'll say this because I think I need to take this heat now. Even like calling my mom, like, calling, checking in on her, like asking other people to check in on her, just to, because I think that's for her mental health. But sometimes even for me, I can get caught up in doing my own thing, but at the same time, feeling bad because I'm not always there like she would want me to be, because we don't live in the same home. But just asking people is big, is really important. Really
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Malika. Anybody else?
Petra,
Yes.
Sharon, I spent 5 days of recovery over at Claudine's house many years ago when I was caring for my mother because I was just worn out. And I was glad I was able to go over there. But yeah, you have to ask for the help. But then also, we were talking about that mindset. And like, I like how you say that old business. When you're dealing with somebody in this kind of situation, you're going to need all your energy. So some kind of a way, you're going to have to let go that old business because you're going to need your energy.
Yeah.
And you have to do it by faith, not by feeling, because you ain't never going to feel like it. And one thing one of my doctors told me to help in this area is first, you got to know you're in trouble. So first, we got to know I'm in trouble. Secondly, we have to become thoroughly disgusted with whatever our attitude or disposition may be. And then third, be held accountable, and work at it. Nothing gonna happen just supernaturally. We have to take the steps.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna need all the energy, and all that old business has got to go, because you're gonna need every ounce to do caregiving.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah,
And
if I could add to that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Norberta.
Yeah, that's fine, Petra. Thank you so much. If I could just add to it, right? You said something which is, and Sharon's alluding to it as well. It's a choice, right? And so the two things that I would add is I had to learn to let go of some things that, I was raised with a grandmother and a mother that if they came in this house and saw how tore up it is, they would be like, what the hell? And, but I only have so much time. So, it's going to fall by the wayside. So I had to let that go. And then the other thing is Susan used to say this is, do you want peace or do you want to be right? And in my family, for the first couple of years, I wanted to be right. And now I want to have peace. So, it doesn't matter so much what they think as much as it matters that I know I'm doing the best that I can do. And you have to be good with that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, because as I said, the person with the disease is changing and so are you. Yeah. And so you'll recognize that. I just have two more things and then I'm done. One of the things is I just want to revisit some coping strategies. Again, managing your time, getting quality sleep, eating nourishing foods, exercising more, laughing more, making an effort to relax, watching, if you're going to watch television shows, something that's funny, The news can be depressing over and over again. COVID-19 updates can be depressing over and over again. So monitor what you are watching. Be mindful of the things that you are doing. Kind of be present in the moment. Do some deep breathing. And at the end, we'll just do one deep breath. But you are resilient and you have the ability to come back from where you are and to maintain a positive outlook. Accepting this change that's occurring in your life is really, really important. As was said, that the more you fight that, that's even internalizing within you that there are some changes of life that you're fighting against, and it can cause problems. So this is a personal journey. Make connections with people, even in the support group. Some of you may also, even within the group, support each other. And I'm sure it's wonderful when you share so that people realize that they're not alone. Again, self-care is not selfish, it's intentional. You must do it in your role as a caregiver so that you are able to give the care in the best way possible. So on your paper, I want you to draw a big heart, or as wherever the space allows you to draw a heart. And in the middle of the heart, I want you to write me first. And on the outside of the heart, write the equal sign and then self-care. So when you're done with that, cut it out, stick it on your refrigerator, decorate it, do whatever you need to do. It's just a reminder that you must take care of yourself. So thank you all. If there are any comments or questions, I'll be happy to, as you all end the day.
Yes, Petra, this is Brenda. I have a question for you.
Yes.
In talking to Kaiser caseworker about what plan, what my mom qualifies for and everything, and I was looking for incontinence stuff. They came back and said because of the plan she was on with her Medi-Cal, she didn't qualify. But then they recommended that I reach out to Alzheimer's LA or other organizations to see if they have programs where she can get a discount on the purchase of them, or she can get them for free or whatever. And so I just wanted, while I have you, to see if there are organizations or agencies or resources out there. And it's more for her night continence, where the daytime she's fine, it's the nighttime ones that is so costly to purchase.
It is. Thank you so much, Brenda. I wrote a note and I will get back to you next week because I will need to investigate further. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? That's it.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you so much.
Petra, did you go to Patton College?